Good evening. You're listening to Quiet Sleep Cat, a quiet place for gentle stories, slow nights, and warm rest. You do not need to follow every detail. You do not need to stay fully awake. Just let the story move softly around you. Let the night carry the rest. Tonight, we return once more to Moonlight Town. One visitor is waiting for the evening coach. He expects to leave before the town grows fully quiet. For now, Mr. Rowan sits inside the library with a small satchel beside his chair, and one last hour still belonging to the day. Mr. Rowan sat at a plain reading table near the library wall. A small book lay open before him. It was a collection of short essays about rivers, roads, and common trees. Nothing in it required careful study. He had chosen it because the chapters were brief enough to finish before the evening coach. His satchel rested beside one chair leg. It was not large. A folded scarf lay inside, along with a notebook, a pencil, and another small book he had brought from outside Moonlight Town. There was no second shirt, no sleepwear, no reason for either. He would be leaving before night settled fully over the lower road. Mr. Rowan turned one page. The library was quiet, without being empty. Two readers remained farther away. Miss Elin moved once behind the front desk, and then disappeared between shelves. Mr. Rowan read another paragraph. Then, almost without thinking, he reached into his coat pocket. His pocket watch opened with a soft click. There was still plenty of time. 40 minutes, he thought. Enough for one more section. He closed the watch and returned it to his pocket. The page in front of him described a narrow road beside a river. He read slowly. There was no need to carry the sentences beyond the table. Breath in and out. Outside, the late afternoon light had begun to soften. The smooth paving beyond the library windows looked pale beneath a deepening blue sky. Mr. Rowan had finished the simple business that brought him to Moonlight Town before lunch. Afterward, the remaining hours had been easy to fill. The evening coach gave the day a clear ending. He only needed to be at the lower road stop before it arrived. Then the town would pass behind the coach windows. The bridge and Cedar Road would remain behind. By late evening, he would be somewhere else. Nothing about that plan felt important. It was simply the plan. Mr. Rowan read to the end of the essay. He rested one hand on the open book and listened to the library. A chair moved softly in another aisle. A page turned. Someone near the desk coughed once, quietly. Miss Elin passed the end of the reading table. "You still have time," she said. Mr. Rowan looked up. "I thought so. The lower road is not far. I remember." She did not ask whether he had enjoyed his visit. He did not explain what he had come to do. The day had already carried those things. Now there was only the last hour before leaving. Mr. Rowan returned to the book. He read the final lines once. Then he closed the cover and left both hands resting on top. The story on the page was finished. His own evening still seemed to have a simple direction. His satchel waited beside the chair. The pocket watch remained closed in his coat. Outside, the library street grew a little darker. Mr. Rowan sat for one more quiet minute before standing, with nothing yet suggesting that the evening would ask him to stay. Mr. Rowan stood and pushed the chair beneath the reading table. He carried the library book to the return place near the desk. Miss Elin was arranging a small stack nearby. Finished for tonight. She took the book and placed it with the others. Then you should have comfortable time for the coach. Mr. Rowan opened his pocket watch. 23 minutes. That is comfortable. He closed it again. The lower road was close enough to reach at an ordinary pace. Mr. Rowan returned to the table and lifted his satchel. The strap settled over one shoulder. He checked the chair and the floor beneath it. Nothing had been left behind. The satchel was easy to check because there was so little inside. A folded scarf, a notebook and pencil, the small book he had brought with him, a handkerchief, a few ordinary personal things in one inner pocket. No second shirt, no sleepwear, no washing things for morning. He noticed none of those absences now. There was no reason to notice them. Breath in and out. Mr. Rowan put on his coat. He buttoned the middle two buttons, then slipped the watch into the same pocket he had used all day. At the front door, Miss Elin lowered one lamp near the entrance. The rest of the library remained open for a little while longer. Good night, Mr. Rowan. Good night. Safe journey. Thank you. The words were ordinary. Mr. Rowan rested one hand on the door handle. Behind him, the library continued its evening routine. A reader farther inside was still turning pages. Miss Elin had another small stack to arrange. None of it required him to stay. He opened the door. Cool evening air met him on the smooth paving. A few lamps had begun to glow along the lower walls. Mr. Rowan stepped outside and allowed the door to close softly behind him. For a moment, he remained beneath the library roof. The coach stop was near the lower edge of town, where the main road widened enough for the vehicle to pause. He had walked past the turn earlier. There was no uncertainty about the route. He opened the watch once more. 21 minutes. More than enough. He closed it. There was no need to shorten his steps. The evening had a comfortable order. Book returned. Satchel packed. Coach ahead. Nothing else to arrange. Mr. Rowan looked down the street. The smooth library paving continued for a little way before joining the older stone road. Beyond that, the town lowered gradually toward the bridge road and the outer wall. He adjusted the satchel on his shoulder. The small bag rested close against his side. Then he began walking. His first steps crossed the pale stones outside the library. The road beyond them waited under the deepening blue evening. Mr. Rowan left the library exactly on time, carrying only what he expected to carry home that night. The pale library stones gave way to older paving beneath Mr. Rowan's shoes. His footsteps became a little deeper. The road sloped gently downward. He walked without hurry. The evening coach was still more than 15 minutes away. At the first corner, a narrow opening between houses showed part of the stone bridge. A soft reflection moved on the water below. Mr. Rowan did not turn toward it. The coach stop lay farther down. He passed a low wall with moss along its lower edge. A bicycle leaned against another wall nearby. Someone inside a house closed a window. Moonlight Town was beginning its ordinary evening changes. Mr. Rowan noticed them because he had little else to think about. Breath in and out. He reached into his pocket and checked the watch. 15 minutes. Still comfortable. He returned the watch to his pocket and continued. The bakery street appeared at the end of the next road. A warm smell of bread remained in the cooler air. Mrs. Imai's front window was still lit, though the brighter part of the day had already ended. Mr. Rowan had eaten there earlier. He did not stop now. He only passed the familiar door and continued toward the lower road. The houses became slightly farther apart. The road widened. A taller stone wall ran along one side before ending near a narrow turn. Mr. Rowan could see more sky here. Deep blue had replaced most of the remaining daylight. He checked his watch at the end of the wall. 11 minutes. Still enough to arrive early. He closed the case and put both hands into his coat pockets. The satchel strap stayed secure on his shoulder. A small local cart approached from below. It carried empty wooden crates. The driver moved aside to give Mr. Rowan room. They exchanged a brief nod. Then the cart continued toward town. Mr. Rowan walked on. The lower road was visible ahead now. It was broader than the stone streets above and curved between a line of trees. Near the widening stood a simple wooden shelter. A long bench rested beneath its roof. There was no station building, no ticket counter, only a place where the coach stopped at its scheduled time. Mr. Rowan had seen the shelter earlier from a distance. Now it became the clear end of his walk. He slowed slightly as he approached. No coach was there yet. That was expected. The stop itself was empty. No other passenger appeared to be waiting. Mr. Rowan did not find that strange. The evening service was small. He stepped beneath the shelter. The wood smelled dry and old. The bench had been smoothed by years of ordinary use. Mr. Rowan placed his satchel beside one end. Before sitting, he looked down the tree-lined road where the coach would come. Nothing moved there. He had arrived with time to spare. The journey out of Moonlight Town had not begun yet, but everything still seemed ready for it to begin exactly as planned. Mr. Rowan sat beneath the simple shelter, with the satchel beside him. The lower road extended in both directions. One side curved beyond a line of trees. The other rose gently toward Moonlight Town. The coach would come from the tree-lined side. Mr. Rowan opened his pocket watch. 9 minutes. Early enough. He closed it and settled back against the bench. A cart passed on the far side of the road. It carried empty wooden crates. The driver raised one hand in greeting. Mr. Rowan returned the gesture. Then the cart continued uphill. The road became quiet again. Waiting did not bother him. There was a clear end to it. The coach would arrive. The door would open. His satchel would go beside his feet. Then the road would begin moving beneath the wheels. Breath in and out. A few minutes passed. A bird moved from one low branch to another. The evening cooled slightly. Mr. Rowan opened the watch. 3 minutes. He did not stand. Coaches were not always exact to the minute. A narrow road and ordinary traffic could change a schedule by a little. He waited. The minute hand moved. No sound of wheels came from beyond the trees. Another 2 minutes passed. Mr. Rowan looked down the road. Still nothing. 5 minutes late then. Not enough to mean anything. He placed the watch beside him on the bench, rather than returning it to his pocket. The road remained quiet. Mr. Rowan thought briefly of the next part of his journey. He would probably arrive a little later than expected. He opened the watch again. 8 minutes past the scheduled time. For the first time, the waiting changed slightly. It was still calm, but it no longer had a precise ending. Mr. Rowan stood and walked to the outer edge of the shelter. From there, he could see a little farther down the road. Nothing approached. He returned to the bench. He sat again. Another 5 minutes would be reasonable. The sky above the road turned a deeper blue. Mr. Rowan did not feel stranded. He did not feel worried. He only felt the first small gap opening between the evening he had planned and the evening that was actually arriving. He checked the watch once more. 12 minutes late. Then footsteps came from the road behind the shelter. Someone from Moonlight Town was approaching. Mr. Rowan turned. The old post office clerk was walking downhill with his coat buttoned and one hand in his pocket. His expression was ordinary, but he was looking directly toward the coach stop. The post office clerk walked directly toward the coach stop. Mr. Rowan stood. The clerk raised one hand before he reached the shelter. Mr. Rowan? Yes. I thought I might find you here. The sentence answered something before Mr. Rowan asked. He looked once down the empty road, then back at the clerk. The coach? Not tonight. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The lower road remained completely ordinary. There was only an empty stretch of evening road. Mr. Rowan looked at the pocket watch in his hand. There isn't another one later? The clerk shook his head. Not tonight. What happened? road maintenance farther west ran later than planned. The evening service was canceled before the coach left the other town. Is the road closed? No, the work is nearly finished. They simply canceled the final service rather than send it late. Mr. Rowan absorbed that. The explanation was simple. No accident. No danger. Breath in and out. What about morning? The usual coach is expected. What time? 7:20. Mr. Rowan glanced toward the darkening sky. 7:20 belonged to a different day. The clerk stepped beneath the shelter. I received the notice at the post office just before closing. You had mentioned the coach earlier, so I came down. Thank you. Mr. Rowan closed the watch. For the first time all day, the next hour no longer had a prepared shape. What do people usually do if this happens? The clerk considered the question. Stay the night. Mr. Rowan almost smiled. Yes, I suppose it is. There is a lodging house just above the lower road. Past it? Probably. It is easy to mistake for an ordinary house. The clerk pointed toward the rising road behind them. Take the first narrow turn after the stone wall. 2 minutes, perhaps 3. There are 3 rooms upstairs. Do I need to reserve one? Not on a Thursday. Mr. Rowan looked down at his satchel. The bag still held exactly what it had held 10 minutes ago. A scarf, a notebook, a book. Nothing for the night. I did not exactly pack for this. The lodging house has towels. That solves one problem. And beds. That solves the larger one. The clerk smiled. The coach stop suddenly seemed unnecessary. Mr. Rowan had arrived there with one purpose. That purpose no longer existed until morning. He lifted the satchel and placed the strap over his shoulder. The empty road remained beyond it. He did not need to wait another minute. Tonight's journey had ended before it began. The night itself had not. Mr. Rowan stepped away from the bench. Beside him, the post office clerk turned back toward town. For the first time that evening, Mr. Rowan walked uphill instead of away from Moonlight Town. Mr. Rowan walked uphill beside the post office clerk. The coach stop disappeared behind the lower wall after only a few steps. 7:20? Mr. Rowan asked. 7:20. How early should I be there? 7:10 is more than enough. Mr. Rowan nodded. The clerk did not add further instructions. There was no complicated arrangement to make. What about a room? The lodging house is close. And if it is full? It almost never is on a Thursday. That answer was practical enough. Mr. Rowan let it stand. The narrow turn appeared just beyond the wall. A modest wooden building stood a short distance along it. 2 lower windows showed soft interior light. Only a small painted mark rested near the door. That is it, the clerk said. The lodging house? Yes. Mr. Rowan looked toward the door. The clerk stopped at the turn. I am heading the other way. You do not need to come farther. I know. Thank you for finding me. You were where the coach was supposed to be. The clerk wished him good night and turned toward the post office road. His footsteps faded behind the wall. Breath in and out. Mr. Rowan stood alone at the narrow turn. 10 minutes earlier, he had expected to be sitting inside a coach. Now he was looking at a lodging house he had not known existed. The change was not large enough to feel dramatic. It was simply complete. He would not leave tonight. Mr. Rowan approached the door. A small brass bell hung beside it. He pressed once. Footsteps sounded inside. The door opened. The lodging keeper was an older woman with a plain apron and a ring of keys at one side. Good evening. Good evening. I was told you may have a room. For tonight? Yes. She looked at the satchel. Coach? Cancelled. That happens occasionally. Her answer was so ordinary that Mr. Rowan felt the evening settle by one small degree. I have a room upstairs, she said. That would be fine. Breakfast is at 6:30. The morning coach is 7:20. I was just told. Then you know almost everything. She opened the door farther. Warm indoor air reached the narrow path. Mr. Rowan stepped inside. The front room was small. A table stood near one wall. A wooden staircase rose beyond it. There were hooks for coats and a rack for damp shoes. Nothing about the house seemed designed to impress a traveler. It was simply prepared to receive one. The lodging keeper took a key from the ring. Second room on the left. Thank you. There is washing water upstairs. Supper will be ready a little later. Mr. Rowan paused. Supper? Vegetable stew and bread. That sounds good. She handed him the key. The metal was plain and slightly warm from her hand. You have time to settle first. Mr. Rowan looked toward the staircase. The evening had changed again. Not into something difficult, only into something he had not planned. He adjusted the satchel strap and began climbing toward a room that only needed to belong to him until morning. The lodging house door had closed below by the time Mr. Rowan reached the upper hall. 3 doors stood along one side. The second door on the left had a small brass number. He opened it. The room beyond was simple. A single bed stood against the wall. There was one chair, a washstand, a folded towel, and a water pitcher. One small window looked toward the lower road. Mr. Rowan stepped inside and set the satchel on the chair. The bed was neatly made. A plain blanket had been folded across the foot. Nothing in the room suggested that someone had been expecting him. That was reassuring in its own way. It was simply a room kept ready for whoever happened to need it. Breath in and out. Mr. Rowan removed his coat. There was a hook beside the door. He used it. Then he looked at the satchel. For the first time, The small bag seemed noticeably small. He opened it. The scarf lay on top. The notebook rested beneath it. The book he had brought from home filled most of the remaining space. No change of clothes. No toothbrush packed for travel. No slippers. No special things for morning. Mr. Rowan sat on the edge of the bed. The room had already provided most of what mattered. Water, a towel, a blanket, a clean place to sleep. The things he had not packed were mostly things he could do without for one night. He stood again and washed his hands and face. The water was cool. The towel was rough enough to feel clean and dry. When he finished, he hung the towel beside the washstand. The satchel remained open on the chair. There was a knock at the door. The lodging keeper spoke from the hall. "Supper in about half an hour." "Thank you." Her footsteps moved away. Mr. Rowan looked at the room. Half an hour. That amount of time had never appeared in his plan. He had expected those minutes to belong to the road beyond town. Now they belonged to this small guest room. He could read. He could sit. He could go downstairs early. He could do nothing in particular. Mr. Rowan took the pocket watch from his coat. He opened it. Then he closed it again almost immediately. There was no coach to catch tonight. The next useful time was morning. He placed the watch on the cabinet beside the bed. The gesture felt temporary. Everything here was temporary. That did not make it uncomfortable. Mr. Rowan walked to the window. The lower road was visible between two roofs. A lamp had come on near the coach stop. From this distance, the shelter looked smaller than it had while he was waiting there. He could have stayed in the room until supper. Instead, he reached for his coat. Half an hour was enough for a short walk. He had nowhere important to go. That was exactly why the idea appealed to him. Mr. Rowan closed the satchel, left it on the chair, and took only the room key. A few minutes later, he was walking downstairs again, with an unplanned piece of evening waiting outside. Before reaching the stairs, Mr. Rowan paused and returned to the room once more. The open satchel had caught his attention. He pulled it closer and looked properly at what was inside. The folded scarf lay on top. Beneath it were his notebook, pencil, and the small book he had carried from home. A handkerchief rested in one inner pocket. That was almost everything. No change of clothes, no sleepwear, no washing kit. Nothing chosen for waking in a guest room the next morning. Mr. Rowan looked at the contents for another moment. Then he looked around the room. The towel had already been provided. So had water. The bed had a clean blanket. His clothes were perfectly good for one more morning. The list of missing things became shorter as soon as he stopped treating it like a list. Breath in and out. He removed the scarf and placed it across the back of the chair. The notebook stayed in the bag. The small book went on the cabinet. Mr. Rowan washed his hands and face once more. The water was cool. He folded the towel over the rail when he finished. The small mirror reflected the same tired but calm face as before. He sat again. The satchel remained open. The things he had not packed were mostly things he could do without for one night. A light knock came at the door. The lodging keeper spoke from the hall. "Supper in about half an hour." "Thank you." Her footsteps moved away. Mr. Rowan looked toward the pocket watch. He took it from his coat, opened the case, and saw that the time matched her estimate. Half an hour. According to his original plan, those minutes would have belonged to the coach. He would have been sitting beside a window. The town would already have been falling behind. Instead, half an hour now belonged to a room with a plain bed and a quiet window. He could read. He could sit. He could go downstairs early. Or he could walk outside for a little while. Mr. Rowan closed the watch. There was no coach to catch tonight. The next useful scheduled time was breakfast. He placed the watch on the cabinet. For several seconds, he left it there. Then he stood and reached for his coat. The evening outside was still mild. The lodging house was only a few minutes from the center of town. He had nowhere important to go. That was exactly why a short walk seemed useful. Mr. Rowan closed the satchel and left it on the chair. The morning book remained on the cabinet. The scarf stayed across the chair back. He took only the room key and slipped it into his pocket. Before leaving, he looked once at the bed. There was no need to prepare it further. It had been ready before he arrived. Mr. Rowan opened the door and stepped into the quiet hall. For the first time all day, he was leaving a room without needing to arrive somewhere at a particular minute. The next half hour had no plan at all. He began walking downstairs to see what an unplanned part of Moonlight Town looked like after dark. The lodging keeper looked up as Mr. Rowan came downstairs. "Going out?" "For a short walk." "Supper in half an hour." "I will be back." She nodded, as if guests did this every evening. Mr. Rowan stepped outside. The narrow road felt different now. Earlier, he had crossed it while arranging where to sleep. Now there was nothing to arrange. The coach stop was behind him. The guest room was ready. Morning had a known time. For the next half hour, no part of the evening was asking him to hurry. Breath in and out. Mr. Rowan walked toward the town center. The lower wall appeared first. He passed it without stopping. The bridge water was darker than it had been during the afternoon. Warm light from one nearby doorway rested faintly on the surface. According to his original plan, he should already have been beyond these streets. The coach should have carried him past the edge of Moonlight Town. Instead, he heard the bridge water from the road. He smelled cooling bread somewhere ahead. A bicycle leaned beside a wall. Someone closed shutters on an upper window. None of those things had been part of the day he expected. They were not special because of that. They were simply still happening while he was still here. Mr. Rowan walked past the bridge opening. A small lane opened between two houses. Mr. Rowan could see a narrow strip of the bridge rail through it. Earlier in the day, he had looked at the same place as a visitor with hours to spare. Now he passed it as someone who would still be here for supper. The distinction was small, but it changed the pace of his steps. A man farther down the street carried an empty crate into a doorway. A cat crossed a small yard and disappeared behind a fence. The town was not performing an evening for him. It was just continuing. He reached the smoother road near the library. The front lamps were lower now. Mr. Rowan had left that building, expecting not to see it again tonight. He did not go back inside. He only passed the outer wall. The thought made him smile slightly. The day had folded back on itself in a small way. He checked neither the watch nor the sky. Supper would be ready soon enough. The bakery street appeared ahead. Mrs. Imai was lowering one of the front lights. A small board of remaining bread stood near the window. Mr. Rowan slowed. Breakfast would be served at the lodging house. Still, something small for the coach journey tomorrow might be useful. He had not planned to buy morning bread. He had not planned to be here to buy it. Neither fact made the decision complicated. Mr. Rowan walked toward the bakery door. The warm light across the threshold was low and ordinary. The hour he had not planned was nearly half finished. So far, it had asked nothing of him except to keep walking. He reached for the bakery handle. A soft bell sounded as the door opened, and the smell of bread moved into the cool evening. The smell of bread met Mr. Rowan at the bakery door. Mrs. Imai looked up from behind the counter. She had already covered most of the remaining loaves. "You are still in town?" Apparently. Her eyes moved briefly to his coat, and then toward the dark street. The coach? Cancelled. Until morning? Yes. Mrs. Imai nodded. The bakery itself was almost finished for the night. One cooling rack stood empty near the wall. A clean cloth covered the remaining board. The room smelled less like active baking now, and more like warm wood and bread already made. Mr. Rowan noticed how quickly a working place could become an evening place once the last customer had gone. She did not ask for the whole explanation. Road schedules occasionally changed. That was enough. Mr. Rowan looked at the small board of remaining bread. Something that will keep until tomorrow? For the journey? Yes. Mrs. Imai chose a modest loaf with a firm crust. She wrapped it loosely in paper. "This one will be fine." Mr. Rowan paid and placed the loaf beneath one arm. Breath in and out. "So you are here until morning," Mrs. Imai said. The words were not sympathetic. They were practical. A simple description of the evening. Mr. Rowan nodded. "I had not planned on it. Morning is not very far away." The sentence rested between them without asking to become advice. Mrs. Imai turned back to the counter and folded another cloth. Mr. Rowan looked at the wrapped loaf. "No," he said. "I suppose it isn't." There were many possible ways to describe an unexpected night. Delay, inconvenience, changed schedule. Mrs. Emai had reduced it to the distance between now and breakfast. That seemed easier to carry. "Are you at the lower lodging house?" she asked. "Yes." "Then breakfast will be early." "I have been warned." Mrs. Emai smiled. "They consider it a service." "I believe them." She lowered the bakery lamp another little amount. The workday was clearly ending. Mr. Rowan did not remain to create conversation. He had bought what he needed. "Good night." "Good night." He stepped outside. The bakery door closed behind him. The wrapped loaf rested securely beneath his arm. He still had a little time before supper. The bridge road was only a short distance away. Mr. Rowan considered returning directly to the lodging house. Then he continued one street farther. The evening no longer felt like a delay that needed to be filled. It had become an ordinary stretch of time with places inside it. A bakery, a road, a room waiting below. Mr. Rowan walked toward the bridge at an unhurried pace. The bakery light stayed behind him. Ahead, another familiar figure was coming from the Cedar side of town. The familiar figure coming from the Cedar side was Mr. Alden. His hands were in his coat pockets. He slowed when he saw Mr. Rowan. "Good evening." "Good evening." Mr. Alden glanced at the wrapped loaf. "Bakery?" "Yes." They began walking in the same direction for a short distance. Mr. Rowan mentioned the coach before Mr. Alden asked. "The evening service was cancelled." "Road work?" "So I was told." Mr. Alden nodded. "Then you are at the lower lodging house." "I am." The answer sounded more settled now than it had when the clerk first pointed out the building. Breath in and out. They approached the bridge road. Water moved below the stone rail. The night was calm. For several steps after the bridge, they walked without speaking. Mr. Rowan could hear the different sound of their shoes on the older stones. A narrow window above them was being closed for the night. The ordinary movement made the town feel settled rather than empty. Mr. Alden pointed once toward a lower turn. "That road reaches the lodging house too. The one I used earlier is shorter." "It is." "Then I will keep the shorter one." "Also a sound local approach." "The room seems comfortable," Mr. Rowan said. "It usually is." "You have stayed there?" "Once," Mr. Alden added, "before I moved here." No longer story followed. Mr. Rowan did not ask for one. The keeper said breakfast is at 6:30. She starts early. And the coach is 7:20. You will have time. They reached the place where their routes separated. Mr. Alden would continue toward Cedar Steps. Mr. Rowan would turn downhill toward the lodging house. "The lodging house keeps an early breakfast," Mr. Alden said. "I have heard that from almost everyone." "Then you know the important part." Mr. Rowan smiled. "That seems to be the local approach." "To breakfast?" "To most things." Mr. Alden considered that. Probably. The bridge water continued below them. A low lamp rested along the wall. Mr. Rowan looked toward the road leading to the lodging house. It was already becoming a route he could recognize, though he would only need it until morning. Mr. Alden wished him good night. Mr. Rowan returned the words. Mr. Alden continued uphill. His steps grew quieter near the cedar road. Mr. Rowan remained by the bridge for one more breath. He did not check his watch. Supper would be ready soon enough. He had stopped needing the exact minute. That was a small change, and it was enough. He turned downhill. The wrapped loaf rested beneath his arm. The lower lodging house waited only a few streets away. By the time its windows appeared ahead, the night had become fully blue around them. Mr. Rowan walked toward the front door with no new question to answer before supper. The lodging house front room smelled of vegetable stew and warm bread. The keeper was placing 2 bowls on a small dining table. Another guest sat near the far wall, with a newspaper folded beside his plate. He looked up once and gave a quiet greeting. Mr. Rowan returned it. No introductions were needed. The other guest returned to his supper. Mr. Rowan placed the wrapped bakery loaf on a side shelf. "For morning," he said. The keeper nodded. "It will be fine there." She pointed to the empty chair at the table. "Sit whenever you are ready." Mr. Rowan removed his coat and hung it near the entrance. He sat. The bowl in front of him held thick vegetable stew. A piece of plain bread rested beside it. A glass of water stood near his hand. Breath in and out. He tasted the stew. It was warm and simple. Potatoes, beans, carrots, and herbs. Exactly enough for an evening he had not expected to spend here. The keeper returned to the kitchen area. The other guest ate quietly. No one asked Mr. Rowan where he was going tomorrow. No one needed the story of the canceled coach again. Tonight, he was staying. Tomorrow, he was leaving. Both facts were settled. Mr. Rowan reached toward his coat pocket. His fingers stopped before touching it. The pocket watch was upstairs beside the bed. He returned his hand to the table. There was nothing he needed the time for. The keeper brought a small dish of cooked greens. Mr. Rowan took a little. The other guest declined. The meal continued without conversation for several minutes. The room held small sounds. A spoon against a bowl. The low stove. A chair shifting once. Mr. Rowan finished most of the stew. The keeper asked if he wanted more. "No, thank you. That was enough." She accepted the answer. The other guest finished first. He folded his newspaper, wished them good night, and went upstairs. His footsteps crossed the ceiling once. Then the room settled. Mr. Rowan drank the last of his water. He looked at the loaf on the side shelf. Tomorrow's journey had one small thing prepared for it. Everything practical was answered now. A room, supper, breakfast, a morning departure. There was no final problem hiding behind the meal. The evening had become simple enough to stop explaining itself. Mr. Rowan remained at the table for another quiet minute. Then he stood and carried his bowl toward the kitchen. The keeper told him to leave it near the sink. He did. He wished her good night. Then he turned toward the staircase. The front room remained warm behind him, with nothing left for him to decide there. From here, the rest of the night required nothing more than returning to his room. Mr. Rowan returned to the second room on the left. The satchel remained on the chair. The pocket watch rested on the cabinet. The folded blanket lay across the bed. He placed the wrapped bakery loaf beside the satchel. Then he sat and opened his notebook. He wrote only 3 lines. Morning coach, 7:20. Breakfast, 6:30. Leave lodging house, 7:05. Mr. Rowan looked at the page. That was enough. Breath in and out. He closed the notebook. He did not calculate how many minutes remained until morning. He did not make another list. Tomorrow had a plan. Tonight no longer needed one. The notebook returned to the satchel. The loaf stayed beside it. His scarf remained folded over the chair back. Mr. Rowan checked the room key next. It remained on the washstand, easy to see. He would return it downstairs after breakfast. There was no need to place it beside the watch or make another reminder. He opened the satchel once more and made room for the wrapped loaf. The notebook moved to one side. The scarf folded beneath it. The arrangement was simple enough that morning packing would take only a minute. Mr. Rowan considered laying out tomorrow's clothes. Then he looked down at what he was already wearing. There was nothing to choose. He would wear the same clean shirt and coat. The decision had already been made by the smallness of the bag. Mr. Rowan picked up the pocket watch. He opened it once. The hands showed a little past 8. He set the alarm for 6:15. Then he closed the case. Once was enough. The watch returned to the cabinet. Mr. Rowan left it there. He removed his shoes and placed them neatly beneath the chair. His coat went back onto the hook. He poured a little water from the pitcher. The glass rested beside the watch. From the lower road came one distant set of wheels. Only a local cart moving somewhere beyond the houses. The sound passed and faded. Mr. Rowan did not go to the window to check. The morning coach no longer needed to occupy the evening. Its time had been written down. His alarm had been set. The bread was ready. Nothing improved when checked twice. Mr. Rowan folded the towel over the washstand. He moved the chair slightly closer to the wall. Then he stopped arranging things. Tomorrow had been prepared as far as tomorrow needed to be prepared. He lowered the lamp a little. The room softened around the satchel and cabinet. The plan for morning remained safely on one notebook page. Mr. Rowan did not need to carry it through the rest of the night. He stood beside the bed and listened to the quiet lower road. Then he let the room become simply a room for sleeping. The guest room became quieter after Mr. Rowan lowered the lamp. He washed his face once more. The water was cool against his skin. He dried his hands and folded the towel over the rail. The room key rested beside the washstand. The pocket watch remained closed on the cabinet. Mr. Rowan drew the curtain farther across the window. A narrow gap remained. Through it, he could see only a small part of the lower road and one dim wall lamp. He did not know the room well. He did not know which board might sound after midnight. He did not know how the morning light would reach the bed. None of that needed to change. Breath in and out. Mr. Rowan sat on the edge of the mattress. He loosened the collar of his shirt and set his folded scarf on the chair seat. The chair did not need to become a wardrobe. It only needed to hold two small things until morning. The air in the room had cooled slightly since supper. Mr. Rowan pulled the blanket higher and noticed its simple weight. Only warmth. The bed felt different from his own. The pillow was a little firmer. The blanket was heavier. A room did not need to feel like home to be good enough for one night. He placed the glass of water within easy reach. The chair stood near the wall. His shoes waited beneath it. The satchel remained closed. Nothing in the room had to find a permanent place. By morning, most of it would return to the bag. The key would return downstairs. The bed would belong to another guest on another night. That made the room easier to leave alone. Somewhere below, the lodging keeper moved one dish. A cupboard closed softly. Then the front room became quiet again. Mr. Rowan listened to the lower road. No coach passed. There was no reason one should. The absence no longer felt like something missing. A faint step passed in the hallway and stopped at another door. A key turned softly. Then the hall became quiet again. The lodging house was doing what it was built to do. People arrived. Rooms were used. Morning returned them to the road. Mr. Rowan did not need to know who occupied the other room. He let the small sounds stay ordinary and distant. The evening service had been canceled. That fact had already finished changing the night. Mr. Rowan drew the blanket over his legs. He did not open the book on the cabinet. He had read enough for one day. He had planned enough for one day, too. The lamp went lower. The unfamiliar room remained unfamiliar. Still, it was warm. It was quiet. It was safe. That was all a room needed to offer until morning. Mr. Rowan settled farther beneath the blanket. The road outside softened into a distant, ordinary silence. No new thought required an answer. Mr. Rowan lay beneath the plain guest room blanket. The pocket watch remained closed on the cabinet. He could not see its face from the bed. That was fine. The alarm had been set. Breakfast had a time. coach had a time. Nothing else needed a time tonight. Breath in and out. Mr. Rowan thought briefly of where he had expected to be. By now, the canceled coach would have carried him far beyond Moonlight Town. He might have been unpacking somewhere familiar. He might have been preparing for sleep in a room he knew. Instead, he was here. That did not mean he was meant to be here. It did not need to mean anything at all. He was here, and for one night, that was enough. The thought settled quietly. He remembered the bench at the coach stop for only a moment. Now it was simply another quiet place outside the room. The canceled service belonged to the earlier part of the evening. The lodging key belonged to this part. By morning, both would be finished. Morning was soon enough. Outside, the lower road remained still. A distant door closed once. Somewhere farther away, water moved beneath the stone bridge. Mr. Rowan did not picture the route. He did not picture the coach stop. Those places would still exist when morning came. The guest room held only what the night needed: a bed, a blanket, a glass of water, a closed satchel. His breathing slowed. The lodging house made one final small sound below. Perhaps a cup being set down. His eyes remained closed. The unfamiliar ceiling no longer needed to be seen. The room could keep its own shapes until morning. Breath in and out. The room did not have to become familiar. The evening did not have to return to its original plan. Tomorrow would begin with breakfast. After that, the lower road. Then, the coach. But none of those steps belonged to this moment. Morning could arrive without being invited. The alarm would sound once. He would sit up, wash, dress, eat, and walk down the lower road. But those were tomorrow's ordinary movements. They had no work to do inside this bed. This moment belonged only to rest. Mr. Rowan let the pillow hold the weight of his head. The blanket rested across him. The cabinet, chair, and window became softer shapes in the low light. He did not reach for the watch again. The extra night had become an ordinary night at last. Nothing more needed to happen before morning. Good night, and sleep well.